let's just start with what you're doing now. You just had your first regular season game on the radio as the commentator, color commentator, and were you nervous? Was it everything you expected it to be? What was it like?
It's funny you say that because Luis came up to me. He was like, "How do you feel?" And I was like, "I'm fine." And he's like, "You're lying. You're nervous." And I'm like, "Well, of course I'm nervous." He's like, "I know. I was gonna say if you were not nervous, we're gonna have a problem." I was ready to go, but at the same time, first time doing it at home. The game's huge against the Chiefs. Like, my family is super involved. Like, they're gonna hear me. You know, people in Mexico are gonna hear me. Friends, you know, and definitely was one of those things that I was like, oh my God. And after that, I think we just took off and I felt great.
Well, let's just tell people your story, because, you know, you said you came here when you were a teenager and you left home to come here and chase your football dreams.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't even know where to start. I mean, we're talking about me growing up in Mexico with, you know, my family, my mom and dad, and playing football, and I had my teammates, and I had my schooling, and I had my ideas of what I was gonna do, where I was gonna go in Mexico for college and whatnot in high school. And my dad was like, if you're really serious about this football career, like, you can't stay here. He knew that if I really wanted to take this seriously, that I had to go to the primary country, which was the States. My mom had a best friend that lived here in Phoenix, and she was like, you know what, like, I just, you know, my kids are all grown up and I kind of miss having a kid to take care of, so like maybe this could work. I ended up going to Mount Point High School. It's funny because that culture shock, I mean, we're talking, my English wasn't good back then, you know, no friends, you don't understand the culture at all my classes are in English, right? So I'm struggling with the language barrier. It was really hard. I remember there were multiple times where I was crying, like, I want to go back, like, I can't do this anymore. And my parents were very supportive, like, trust us. Like, it's gonna go well, trust us. Every single time that I thought I had everything figured out, something would happen. So like, after high school, I was gonna go to Arizona State. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. I can walk on, whatever, and I can just play at ASU, and it's a D1 school, I'm ready to go. And it was like, no, coaching staff gets fired, so everybody's gone. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do now? It's like, where do I go? And that's when Rolando was like, hey, like, why don't you try community college first? And I was like, okay. Transferred to community college in Glendale. Played there for 2 years, and then once again, I'm like, no offers, nowhere to go for D1 schools. My only chance here is to try to walk on at U of A. Let's try to give that a shot, last shot, you know? So I transferred to the U of A in January, started going to school. They had walk-on tryouts. Everything else is just history, playing there for 2 years. I mean, it's just been crazy from one thing to another, accidental luck, support, like, I don't even know what to tell you. It's just everything kind of lined up. There's a lot of things that I look back that I'm like, if I didn't have that person in my life, I don't get here. If I don't make this decision, I don't get there. Because I've had such good luck with mentors and good teachers, there was something inside me that I was like, I want to do the same with other kids. And so teaching, I've known that I've been wanting to teach since I was like 12. But I teach them Spanish, and that now, I mean, it's super funny because, like, I'm like, guys, I know that some of you guys don't want to be here and you don't want to learn Spanish, but if it wasn't for Spanish, I wouldn't have this job right now with the Cardinals. So I'm trying to kind of make it more fun for them so they can understand that, like, there's some good stuff that can come out of speaking Spanish.
We have to talk about the NFL and how much Latinos love the sport. I mean, you've seen it from the American side and Mexican side. And me, I grew up loving this game. My dad took me to the Cowboys training camp in California, and that was like my team to start out with because that was the first team I ever seen up close. The game has become such a part of, like, us, like our people, like who we are, and a big, like, sports is such a big identity thing with with Latinos and Mexican Americans. And how do you see that? Do you see that the same thing? I mean, you know, these teams like the Raiders and the Cowboys and even the Cardinals now and Miami, with all these places with Spanish-speaking people, you know, those fans really get behind the teams.
When I was growing up, for me, it was football 24/7. I used to watch college games and NFL games with my dad all the time since I was like 4. It's huge. Like, football's huge, and the amount of fans that we have in Latin America that have moved here to the U.S., you know, people that live in California, here in Arizona, like, you can see how much love there is for the sport. The fans are there. I'm just happy that now we're giving them the opportunity to see it, like, live in their own country.
You know, I like to think that what I do, if people were aware of it, you know, that it could be something cool to share with kids. Like, hey, I'm a Mexican American. There's not a lot of us doing in this job, in this profession, doing what we do, and so you know, to be able to show them that, you know, you could do the same thing as a teacher and as a media professional, you know, showing kids that anything is possible, man, if you just believe, just dream it.
That's what happened to me. I'm this little kid from Cancun that just had a big dream, and I just, you know, saw other people do it, and I just asked, can I do it? Let me try, you know, and I was just very grateful that I was able to do it. And I'm still trying to do more, you know, whatever it is that I can do to help myself, my family, my students, my teammates, everybody. I mean, it's just, again, I want to give back. And I hope, like you said, that somebody can see me and go, you know what, like, if he can do it, so can I. And I hope that one day they come back and say, hey, I made it too.